and welcome to the Alternative Review episode 7, your favourite place for news and stuff that isn't news. This week I'm joined by the same people as every week, Adam and Ollie. No
Hello.
Flashy introductions like these two have been doing because I haven't had time to prepare. The first topic on the agenda for today is the flooding in Texas. I don't know if you guys have seen any of this.
Nope.
That's terrible.
54 countries have been declared disaster zones. It's as a result of Hurricane Harvey. Is it Harvey? It is Harvey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 54 countries have been declared disaster zones. At least 2 people are dead, and Trump has responded to it by saying to the governor of Texas, "Governor, whatever you need, you've got." It's been described as the fastest turnaround from a state declaring a disaster to receiving support from the White House.
Wow.
Now, I don't bring that up to try and subtract from the tragedy, because obviously it is terrible.
Yeah.
But I mean, can be said that that's a pretty good thing. Like, that's an improvement. If that's the fastest way.
But did you say 54 countries have been affected by this?
Sorry, counties.
Oh my
No,
gosh. Okay.
Did I say? I might have said countries.
You said countries.
I was like, that's an extinction level event right there.
Yeah, no, I meant counties. Apologies. For
I
that,
was
man.
thinking, how have only 2 people died if
That's what
52
I was
countries are in a state of emergency?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah, totally my bad, that one.
Yes, it was.
What was your question? Sorry, Jay.
I didn't ask one. No, but I would say that, like, yeah, I think Trump's got to be doing something right with this one. I mean, I don't want to turn it into a political thing because obviously that's
We're not about that here.
no. But no, seriously though, like it is a disaster, and we should be focusing on the people of the disaster. But honestly, we don't really have a lot to say about that, do we? I mean, it's not like we're gonna get into a really deep discussion where we're opposed in each other and everything.
Yeah, there's only so
you know
many
what I
times
mean?
you could say something is bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I noticed in this chaos of Hurricane Harvey. Right, every time I wanted to know about it, because I couldn't remember it was Harvey until now, every time I wanted to know about it, I would Google Texas. And the thing is, though, if something happened in like a little Welsh village, like something horrific, you would just Google the name of the village and you assume the disaster would come up. But obviously, because Texas is such a huge thing, I kept Googling Texas and just getting facts about Texas instead of about the hurricane. And I was like, wow, Texas is a really big place.
yeah.
It's bigger than the UK.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, isn't
I
it?
actually just recently saw like an outline of Texas over the entirety of like Europe.
Yeah.
It's bloody massive. It's mental
it's
how
huge.
big that state is.
I'd like to go there, you know.
What, all of it?
Provided it's not like Atlantis by then, with the state things are going on. Did you know they've had 50 inches of rain? 50 inches?
That's a lot of rain.
I don't really know how to like compare that. I'm not sure.
Well, you
That's
know,
a
like
lot.
an inch
Yes.
times it by 50.
How many inches tall is a person?
Oh, good question.
Probably less than 50.
We'll leave that for next week, shall we?
The debate continues.
I mean,
The average height of a person is 60 inches.
right.
That's a lot of rain. Just so
Right,
you're
but
aware, Jake.
When people say, yeah, thanks. But I mean, when people say it's like people say like however many centimeters of rain, it doesn't mean that the rain is 30 centimeters off the ground. You know what I mean? Like, how does it? I don't.
Well, it was at
understand.
some point.
Was it? Well, in Texas
It
it was.
came from the sky, Jake.
What? That's definitely not what they're talking about when they're talking about 30 centimeters.
Yeah, the rain fell from 50 inches above the ground.
Yeah. The cloud was exceptionally low down at only 50 inches off of the ground.
We appear to be taking this Texas thing very well.
Yeah,
In the UK.
yeah, that's a good point.
I saw a picture of it, and like, gosh, there was like a picture of what each hurricane will do in terms of damage, and this is obviously like I heard it was one of the worst Texas had ever seen throughout all of human out of recorded history, and it's the worst level of hurricane that we know of as well, which is crazy, isn't it?
Is it worse than old Katrina?
I would argue, yeah, but the difference was, I think, because Katrina is a poorer country.
Because it was in New Orleans, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oops. That made me sound stupid. But yeah, New Orleans, it was a poorer place. Then, in theory, then it would have been easier to cause more damage, but I don't really know.
Than 54.
Well, it was
countries in
all the
Texas.
looting and stuff in New Orleans was one of the big problems, wasn't it? And the looting broke out.
Yeah,
it was
Our
pretty
hearts and
bad.
prayers go out to the people of Texas who are suffering because of this crisis.
Sad for us to a mad picture, isn't it? In the...
Yeah, it's crazy. We don't really have any natural problems, like natural events or anything.
Couple of little bit of flooding in Carlisle, but other than
Yeah, and a few people crying about it, even though it happens every year.
that.
and they moved there knowing it was going to happen.
I heard that the way people die mostly in hurricane situations is from being trapped inside
Trees.
cars. Trees.
They
Trees
freeze.
are a big. No, trees are a big
Oh.
killer in hurricanes. Trees falling
Really?
over.
I thought you said they freeze. I thought the wind was just going to be so cold that they just freeze to death. That would be
Do
terrible.
you mean like trapped inside cars?
As
Like,
it floods.
oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
That's why I want to carry on one. Excuse me. That's why I want to carry around one of those pens where you just pull the stopper out and it just smashes glass when you let go.
Yeah, I was thinking just buy
That's
a car
cool.
with a sunroof.
Yeah, it could
Yeah.
do. But then wait, I mean, yeah.
Or
heard-
just keep a glass breaker in your car. I
I-
say that,
yeah.
I don't have a glass breaker in my car. I'm going to go buy a glass breaker to put in my car.
Well, as I heard, one thing as well is the spread of disease because of like if you're in the water, because there's so much debris and stuff.
Yeah.
Really easy to get cut by something, get tetanus or something like that.
Mm. I've heard that one.
You've had that one.
I've heard that one.
I've had that
Right.
one.
Tetanus.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I've had
tetanus
that.
is a bad one.
Right.
Yeah.
What was that, Ollie?
I was just thinking, also implying that I've had plenty of others as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've had that one.
Mumps. Oh. Wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Right. We'll crack on. Next thing on the agenda. Did you see about the chemical haze that just floated across onto Burlingame Beach?
Where's that?
East Sussex. Sussex.
Sausage.
I know you just said East Sausage. East, East Sussex. Yeah. So a slightly more bizarre disaster. Not entirely sure if it's of the natural kind. We don't know anything
Probably
about
not,
it, really.
from the sounds of it.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Like some kind of chemical gas just missed, just like completely engulfed the beach at
There's some company waiting for a lawsuit there, you know.
yeah, man.
They're going to find out, innit?
The gas, though, that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
like-
mental.
The gas. I mean, surely it'd be easy to find the source if it was some big company, because you just go, okay, what companies are nearby? What factories are nearby?
Yeah.
But
Well, they're probably investigating it, aren't
crazy that gas.
Well, they are. They've sort of concluded that because of the wind patterns, it couldn't have been something onshore over in France, and it couldn't have been something onshore in the UK because it came drifting from the water.
Whoa. That's creepy, man.
they? Aliens.
Yeah, it's got to be like, isn't it?
Must be.
That's the only explanation, really.
Has anybody got hurt?
Well, 150 people are being treated for exposure to the gas, having experienced trouble breathing, stinging eyes, and vomiting.
Oh my gosh.
It was cleared up by this morning, Monday morning.
How do you clear up gas?
Where
Can't exactly sweep it away, can you?
It just dissipated. It was just,
Oh,
yeah,
oh.
I guess.
Maybe it was like a really bad fart from.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, ends
that-
up getting blamed on the Nando's down the road, like.
yeah. God, the fact that it's chemically is quite very bizarre, I think. Very weird.
Yeah.
Chemical gas. That engulfed the beach, so it was big as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It was a big old cloud.
And it all that's even weirder that it stayed together, that it didn't just dissipate. That's even more bizarre, I think. Like it was sentient almost.
Oh, come on now, Adam. I don't think.
No,
Might
you
be
It's gonna-
going a bit far.
It's gonna stay together for a little while. I wouldn't put the tinfoil hat on just yet. Like,
yeah.
You
Forgot
mean
about
you must be? It must be. It is weird though, isn't it? It is. It's bizarre.
I can hear the crinkling, Adam, of that tinfoil, man.
He's trying to be subtle about it. He's gently just lowering it on
Yeah.
his head.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Can we be sure? Can we be sure the Jews don't have anything to do with it? No,
I
I'm
mean,
kidding.
I suppose you can never really be sure.
As
that.
Ross proved.
What is truth?
Kyle Crickmore, who was on the beach at Berlin Gap, described a strong smell of chlorine. So, on that testimony alone, people are thinking that it's probably chlorine gas, and it's a good thing that no one died. I mean,
Heck yeah, I can kill you.
I imagine that that everyone's going to be all right because everyone evacuated the beach pretty quick.
Lethal stuff, chlorine is.
Yeah, but
So you guys thinking it's like a terrorist attack?
I mean,
Bit of a strange one, isn't it?
yeah, but it's a dodgy one. I mean, you cannot rule it out because chlorine is easily available. But I mean,
I don't know. I wouldn't put that down to a terrorist attack. It's not something that you can even aim, really, is it?
what do you mean?
I mean, you can with the wind though, can't you?
Yeah, but the wind's not predictable enough. I don't know.
It seems like a strange chemical attack.
Plus
like,
some random beach as well. Like,
how would you get
Was
it
it
out
random,
over the
though?
water and everything?
Was it? I mean,
I reckon we're going to find out that there was some boat carrying chlorine. Chlorine is something that's made quite easily from, like, I think, but I know it, like, bleach, like, is a component of chlorine.
I know
so-
where you're going with this, Ollie. I know where you're going with this.
Where am I going with this? I don't even
think-
know where I'm going with this.
Oh well, I maybe I know where you're gonna go.
Someone like, I don't know.
I
Yeah,
was
where
gonna
are you
say-
going to take me?
I was gonna say that maybe it was a ship that was carrying something that got set on fire or something like that, which caused the gas.
We would know about it already, though. We would know.
Yeah.
We would know. But I think maybe
I mean, it's either
maybe
that or
something
it's
was dropped out of a ship, and there's been some
And
sort of
became a
chemical
gas.
reaction somewhere.
it dropped out of the ship on a giant.
Well, like, you
Bunsen
know, if you
burner.
put bleach in your toilet, right, and then you wee on
yeah.
the bleach, it makes chlorine gas.
No, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Rubbish.
that's why they advise you not to do it, because it creates a chemical reaction that makes chlorine in your toilet.
That woman, eh?
It's mental.
But like, it's either that, a freak accident on a boat, or it's a supervillain, isn't it?
A super
And
villain.
this was his test. Like,
Chlorine
soon I
ban.
shall put it out to the whole world.
Yeah. He's seen how harsh it was against the people who were on the beach.
They experience a mild nausea. Yes.
He's back to the drawing board when he realizes that everyone evacuated and everyone's going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah, I know. Gonna put his bleach away and stop drinking so much water.
It is bizarre though that it just showed up. It could be a natural process though, also, if you think about it.
Yeah, I
Nah,
was thinking that it could just be like a
nah. It would happen more.
Sorry,
It would
didn't
happen
realize we had a
more.
geologist on the show.
Well, no one would be umming and ahhing. They'd know what it was if that was a natural process. Thank you.
No, but sometimes freak natural processes happen though, don't they?
Freak natural processes aren't going to create a big cloud of chlorine gas floating about. I'm
Could have just
sorry.
been a nice
No,
big like gas deposit.
Nice.
A nice,
Under the ocean.
yeah, under the
and then-
ocean. Then it just
and
like,
then, like,
burst. All the gas came out and was like, I'm gonna float this way with the wind.
I think you need to behave.
What do you mean?
It's not
mean,
true.
How,
it's not
true.
unlikely
Think-
is that?
Think of it like this.
Very.
There are volcanoes under the ocean, yeah?
Not chlorine volcanoes.
Hey, hang on now. There are volcanoes under the ocean. There
Yeah.
are chlorine in swimming pools. Is it not possible? Is it not conceivable? Somebody was trying to build a swimming pool over a volcano. Think of it.
What?
That is the sound of that is the sound of victory, my friends.
I mean, I was
No.
thinking more like gas deposits burst all the time, and there's no reason there couldn't just be one under the water.
That's exactly
The-
right.
I don't think you have naturally occurring chlorine gas. I just don't think that's a thing.
It must do.
How
We-
did
How
we
We got
much
it
is
from somewhere.
Fam,
What? Sorry.
You're guessing.
Google it, fam.
Right.
When do you ever hear about chlorine gas like bubbles under the ground? I hear sulfur under the ground, methane under the ground, because that makes sense. That's from decomposed plant matter. But chlorine gas is something that we synthesize.
No, it's not.
It is an element.
Chlorine isn't an element.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
It's
it?
a
actually,
chemical
oh, gosh.
element with the symbol Cl and an atomic number of 17.
Yeah, it is like it's an element.
Oh, okay, fair one. It might be an element. Doesn't mean it's naturally occurring.
Well, actually, you're right. We don't collect it from the ground.
I know.
We do actually electrolyze it.
I know.
Oh well.
But it
Peeing in
comes.
our toilets.
Here's the bit where you're going to feel silly now, right? The most common compound of chlorine is sodium chloride, right? Sodium chloride appears all over the place. Surely, that is
Surely.
possible and related to it, right?
So you're saying that there's a chemical reaction has taken place naturally that's liberated the two elements from each other?
Yes.
No.
Maybe there's tons more that wasn't liberated from each other. We don't
If-
know.
That type of thing, if it happens, it's something that happens a lot by a natural process, not just some freak thing, some freak happening.
Well, do you
I'm
know
sorry.
what? Do you know what?
I just don't buy it.
So
I'm
what do
going
you
to
think it
get
was,
a
I know.
geologist on the phone.
I think someone dropped something out of a boat. That's a much more reasonable thing to assume
Fair enough.
than that a chemical that we only ever synthesized has naturally occurred and floated across a beach.
All right. Moving on. This is a good one. You'll like this one, right? You ready?
Better.
Huh?
Let's do it.
All right. Reflecting on his inevitable physical death, leader of the Nation of Islam, Louis Farrakhan, 84, declared
this.
in a controversial video recording on Tuesday that Jesus will save him from the grip of death. He said, I'm not guessing that Jesus is alive. I know that my Redeemer liveth, and because he lives, I know that I too will pass through the portal of death, and yet death will not afflict me.
What does that mean, though?
What do you mean?
Because it's not a part of Islamic doctrine, is it, that Jesus will be
As
a part
Redeemer?
of, like...
No.
No. So he's...
Oh, yeah.
do you think he's actually converted to Christianity?
Yeah, man. Like,
What's his name, sorry?
Louis or Lewis Farrakhan. Farra.
Because I know a lot of
KHAN.
his associates have so far, like, they said they were going to sort of come back to the media and, like, to explain what it means, but just haven't. What, like... I think they're trying to cobble together some explanation as to how it's like still Islamic, what he said.
Yeah, nah. He went on talking about how he's had to repent of like the things that he's been teaching everyone and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it really does look like he's come to Christ. And it
No way.
seems this is one of many Muslims who have been coming to Christ as of recent. All I keep seeing is like just
What, famous Muslims?
no, just everyone, just all Muslims. It just seems, well, not all Muslims. Hashtag not all Muslims. But
Oh, that's sad.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it could have been all Muslims. I wish it was all Muslims, but no, yeah, it's just like it's all I keep seeing all over like Facebook and the things that I'm looking at. It's just like record amounts of Muslims are abandoning Islam and coming to Christ.
That is true. But mostly in... Well, actually, one thing was the refugee crisis was a huge cause of it, I think. And another thing was because obviously you had all these Muslims coming over to the UK, and then the people that were reaching out the most were churches, weren't they?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then you also had that, like a lot of Christian leaders were saying that it was a great opportunity to evangelize people who never would have come otherwise. But then you also have the fact that in the persecuted countries, the church is growing, isn't it? Which is great.
Yeah. Well, we talked about North Korea.
But as well, did you see this news report? This is ages ago now, but there was a news report, and I sadly think this is true for a lot of Muslims who are coming over here, but a lot of Muslims became Christians purely because they thought it would look better on their applications. on
Right.
their
Yeah.
stay applications. And I actually knew a guy. I mean, I don't want to say his name just in case, but I knew a guy who I thought was a genuine Christian, and now I'm not sure because who had become, a genuine Christian while he was staying here. Okay, he was a refugee. And I was speaking to one of his friends who told me that he and him, both of them, just pretend to be Christians because they think it'll get them visas. So I really don't know.
Right. Hmm.
That is depressing. like,
Interesting. Yeah. It's funny if you look at that by comparison. Like a Christian, would it be deemed as acceptable for a Christian to pretend to be a Muslim so he can get a visa in an Islamic country?
Yeah.
They wouldn't do it. But it's like it's part of Islamic doctrine to lie to sort of fit into the people that have the majority.
Yeah, that's true. Takiya, it's called. So,
Oh,
no,
are
go
you
on.
are you carrying on with this topic?
Yeah.
Oh right.
Go for it.
I was just going to say, like, do you reckon this guy's going to be in danger then? Because obviously, any Muslim that's like serious about like Islamic scholarship is gonna, is going to agree that obviously the punishment for this Islamically is that this guy gets killed.
Yeah.
I mean, he must be. If he's public about it, I don't know why he's still allowed to be the leader of the Nation of Islam.
That is strange, isn't it?
Is he
Well,
still
even
the
now,
leader
the
of the
Nation of
nation?
Islam.
I don't know.
That's
I should check.
that's
actually.
like what Malcolm X was a part of. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
It's like it's like one of these caliphate type organisations. I swear Malcolm X was in the Nation of Islam.
It's pretty strange if he was.
Why? He was a Muslim.
Was he?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
That's why it's,
I just don't know anything about Malcolm X. Apparently.
he walked around with one of those Muslim head things on.
What, turban?
No, that's not. It's not Islamic.
Some Muslims wear turbans.
You know it's like a Islamic version of a skull cap. Like it's one of those white doily looking things.
Doily looking thing.
It looks like it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It looks a bit like a doily, like fitted over someone's head.
Like a kipper, but like weirder.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, I remember what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to wear one of them. It was him that sort of he was a big part of Muhammad Ali's conversion to Islam. I'm pretty sure.
Looking at Nation of Islam website, they've still got like any amounts of advertisements for this Farrakhan guy, Louis Farrakhan. So
When did he say it?
Tuesday.
Maybe they're figuring out what to do. Like I don't know.
Could be.
They should be pretty worried about that. Like,
Yeah.
Ah,
Apparently he did an Alex Jones interview as well, which I'm sure
Really?
will be fantastic.
That's great.
is that up or not?
It's I've got the link here.
Is this after he said that?
Mate, I'll figure. Hang on. I'll have a look.
It's not good enough, really, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's up now. Let me see. January 20th. So this would have been 8 days
A while ago.
which would have been last Sunday. So it would have been before that.
how big are these guys? Because
The big.
maybe they just don't have anybody to handle the website. Maybe it's just him. For all we know.
No, they are pretty big, like, by the looks of it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going on doing Alex Jones interviews.
Oh yeah, good point.
It wouldn't really be big news him converting to Christianity otherwise, would it?
But then Islam is. They say Islam is the world's fastest growing religion. So
Part of me feels like it could just be, when these Muslims are all like, oh, well, we love Jesus as well, type of thing. I feel like he might just be doing that on a deeper level to try and get people to think, oh, well, it's all the same, really. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like
the
because
cynic
he's not.
in you.
The cynic in me does, because he's not actually outright come out and say I'm a Christian. He's just showing reverence for Jesus that all Muslims do. He's just doing it. He's just playing on Christian doctrine to do it. And again, as I say, part of their doctrine is that what he's saying doesn't necessarily have to be true.
Mm.
You know, he can say whatever he wants about what he believes, and it's easy to forget that. Like, in order to further the security of Islam in Western culture.
I think if you give me a second here, I'll go on and have a look at what he said in a bit greater detail.
Julio.
Well, what would you guys say? This may even be unrelated, but something about that. Do you think the reason why the church in the West has such a big problem is because it's not doing stuff the way that it should? Maybe.
What do you mean?
I fundamentally agree with that one. Like,
just because, like, if you look at how the church is growing everywhere else, it's not purely that the fact that we are so comfortable. It's not purely because our nations are so wealthy that the church in the West is shrinking. That can't be the sole reason. Like, if the church as a whole got mobilized, if we got motivated, if we repented of so much rubbish, do you reckon things would look different? Or maybe it's just
I think the church preaches to the choir too much. Have you
What do you
guys
mean?
ever heard? I think his name's David Lynn. Or seen David Lynn?
who's this? I recognise the name.
We've been watching him recently. Like, let me just check.
Oh,
you guys are checking stuff up, so I'll talk to myself.
Okay.
So Adam, I was just wondering, what do you think about that question? Well, I don't really know, because the question is this part of God's overarching plan in some way, or is this part of the end times prophecy and
it's David
revelation?
What was that?
It is David Lynn.
Okay, who's David Lynn? Explain for
So
me.
so we've been watching this guy called David Lynn. He's in Toronto, and he preaches out in the street in Toronto what looks like every day, and he gets crowds of angry people around him all the time.
Mm.
If you type in on YouTube Christ's Forgiveness Ministries, right, this guy's has got hundreds of videos of him preaching and just debating with people getting really irate. He gets arrested loads of times just for preaching in public land. Like, he's in London at the moment.
Oh yeah.
But, Sim's parents went and saw him in London. Like,
No way.
because he was just preaching on the street and they were passing through, so they just went to say like hi to the guy, sort of thing. But we I don't think we do a lot of it in this country. Like, the amount of churches in Wrexham, we should be seeing it in Wrexham. The amount of churches, you'd have thought, the young people in Kingsgate, for example, they give off this really passionate about God sort of vibe, and it's all very well feeding homeless people, and they do good charity work feeding homeless people, but what's the good in feeding someone that's going to die anyway without Jesus?
Mm.
It's kind of wasted if people aren't going to end up with Jesus by the end of it, or having given the chance anyway.
Maybe
we don't see people doing it,
Maybe we should incorporate some street preaching in the alternative review somehow.
Maybe.
Interesting.
There's a YouTube channel which sounds almost identical to that made me dad watch a bit, called Team Jesus Preachers, which is similar. People just really kicking off at him, for just preaching the gospel, calling people out.
Yeah. I watched. Have you ever heard of Apologia? This is becoming like a list of all these people.
Yeah, Apologia Studios.
Yeah, Apologia. I watched one of theirs, and it was like a compilation of all the seriously creepy stuff that has happened to them while they've been out preaching God's word. There's one there's a few actually outside abortion clinics where people are acting so demonic and bizarre whenever they start talking.
Yeah, I saw one with this guy actually. Like, this dude was saying, talking about how he knows his whole family, almost like it was like Legion in the Gospels.
Right.
It was like he keep saying like, "I know your mother, I know your father," and all of this. Like, and he had this really weird face, like this really weird, almost inhuman expression on his face,
Creepy.
telling him to just basically drop the microphone and leave, sort of thing.
Very creepy.
Really, really weird.
A piece of me would like to try it, but
I was really thinking about it for a while. I was checking the prices for megaphones and things like that.
megaphone.
Yeah, man, big time. But
Oh, you've got a megaphone.
me,
No, the
Oh,
scout
he does.
group's got a megaphone.
I'm sure they don't
It's
mind.
not a very good one either. Like this guy uses like a portable amp with a microphone attached to it that I watch, and that's the one. Like, because then he gets the people that are arguing with him. He gets them on the mic, and just basically shows them how their argument's just not very good. And most of the time, they just stay really mad at him and end up walking off, or just, you know. But I mean, he was like there in the middle of Pride, like, you know, their Pride parade,
Wow.
debating with people, and like people were getting so angry, and and he gets arrested all the time and stuff like that.
Blimey neck.
Mental.
yeah. So there was a mental video this guy put up where he was like standing up on some step ladders. This is Team Jesus Preachers, by the way, and he some guy, he was like talking to this like group of lads on the beach, and some guy, like, as they were all walking away, he turned around and like sprinted up to him and just drop kicked the step ladders that he was standing on, just completely snapped him in half when he fell down, and then like the preacher ended up getting arrested for it.
Yeah.
Mental.
What do you guys remember when David Wood and Nabil Qureshi went to the? I can't remember where it was. Oh, it was in.
They went to an
America.
Islamic thing, did they?
Yeah, and they got arrested for it. They were told they weren't allowed to come inside, and all they were doing, they were literally just stood there, and because they were wearing Jesus t-shirts, people were coming up to them, chatting to them, and they were chatting to them, and then they got arrested, and that was it, for causing a disturbance.
It's insane, man, that, isn't it?
The T-shirt police came up.
Yeah.
Mental. Literally getting kicked out for the subjective conversation that you're having with someone.
I know,
Yeah.
that's just stupid, isn't it?
It's just
There's
insane.
no law either. It's just
Worries
mental.
me, that.
Yeah, big time. That was another thing I was looking at, like the legal side of like what's allowed and what's not allowed, and the problem is just like how vague the law is about you know, about anything that you do in public. Any kind of public display of anything is just it's, you know, if it constitutes a disturbance of the peace, but then how do you define a disturbance of the peace? Like,
and who's causing it as well?
Yeah, and like if you know, form some kind of blockage of like people getting past, but then a blockage can be of literally any size, you know? If you're standing still in the street, you're causing a blockage. It just makes us think that like if someone really wanted to, if a copper really wanted to, he could just arrest you and you
anyone.
could actually go to jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's sort of an aspect of the law. Is it's worded in a way where it's supposed to look like it's specific and sort of actually alludes to specific things, but you can apply it to so much that it just gives the police a lot of power to sort of.
Yeah, just ends up being discretionary.
Yeah, very much so.
So, we'll move on. This is the one that's going to make you sick. Australia's most powerful clergy, Archbishop of Melbourne, Dennis Hart, says he's prepared to be jailed for failing to report child sex abuse by paedophile priests. Hart insisted that sexual abuse was a spiritual encounter with God through the priest, and was of a higher order than criminal law. As the law currently stands, clergy are not legally obliged to report crimes to the police, and disciplinary proceedings for criminal activity by members of the Catholic Church are handled internally by canon law, which operates independently of the regular legal procedure.
Hang on, so he said that being abused by a priest was a spiritual encounter?
That's the bit that I thought was going to make you sick. He says it's a spiritual spiritual encounter with God through the priest, and it's of a higher order than criminal law.
I don't understand.
It's awful. That
I
isn't
don't.
it?
I don't understand I don't understand where he's coming from at all with that.
Where's that in the scripture?
He sounds totally mentally deranged.
Absolutely.
He should be in prison. He's pretty much admitted to being a pedo.
This is so yeah. There's basically been call for reform in law regarding the church now, because obviously, anyone else in this situation would go to jail for accessory to whatever the crime is, paedophilia in this case, sexual abuse of a minor. But because it's
under
a
different
priest,
law.
under canon law, they don't have to disclose it to the police. Which
Even that they don't have to disclose to the police.
yeah,
Are you being serious?
yeah,
They
have to.
They don't have to.
No. It's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely mental.
I don't understand.
And it applies for absolutely any crime. And so that's why there's call for reform, because this is naturally ridiculous.
Well, there was a reform, buddy. It was about 500 years ago. It's called the Reformation, and they need to get on board.
I'm pretty sure they're talking about legal reform.
Oh. But yeah. But here's the thing. Did you know? I mean, the Catholic Church get dissed a lot for that, and they should do because it's bad. Did you know 96% of all child abuse cases happen in federal education?
Right. Really? Well, like by teachers?
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me. I mean, because there's a lot more chance of it happening in federal education than in the Catholic Church, isn't it?
Where all the
Obviously,
kids are. There's one
kids
way
have a
to
lot
look
more
at it.
exposure in that sort of institution.
Quite interesting, though, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly.
Like, I think the Catholic Church get a bad rap, but nobody gives the secular schools a bad rap, even though it's more overwhelming in there. I'm not defending the Catholic Church. I just think it's worth noting. And you're right, Jake. It's totally sickening to think that this guy. It's sick. I honestly believe
He represents Christianity.
Yeah, he's got some kind of mental disorder. He
He
must
must
do.
do if he thinks that.
I don't understand how that's even a train of thought. How? I bet he doesn't have kids. Bet any money he doesn't.
Yeah. What was it, 97%, did you say? Of
Something like that. A really, really high number in the 90s.
I mean, to me, it's sort of like saying like 100% of shark attacks happen in water. It's like, yeah, because that's where all the sharks are. You know what I mean? That's where all the kids are.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying. The state like education system doesn't get rap for paedophilia.
Well, there was one guy. I mean, I guess it's kind of related. There's this one guy who basically Canada have now introduced a third gender onto their passports, which is X. Yeah. And this one guy.
It's what, sorry?
It's
X.
just X.
X.
And
Right.
and this one guy wrote, as an openly gay pastor, I think this is a step in the right step forward. And I just commented underneath that you, sir, are a false teacher. A wolf among lambs, is what I said. Because it just drives me crazy. I think as well it's because I've seen firsthand what can happen when a pastor kind of, what can happen when a pastor kind of abuses the relationship that he has, or not the relationship, the authority that he has in a church. And I think after that, it makes it just seems so wrong. It just seems so. I mean, it was wrong anyway, obviously, but I think
an abomination, though. When
yeah. I mean, it's just. You're right. There's no other word for it. It's totally sickening, isn't it?
Disgusting.
Disgusting. Yeah, well, perhaps there's not much left to say about that. Well, that's the end of my headlines that I've got written down this week.
Oh, excellent. Is it time for a derp?
Could be time for derp, unless you guys have got something else to talk about, to discuss.
No, have you seen any headlines, Ollie?
Not that I can think of, to be honest. That passport thing was pretty funny, I thought.
Yeah. Stupid.
An X.
Yeah.
I am X. As in, like, the algebra X, like, who knows what it is?
Yeah.
Just gotta find it
Yeah.
out.
I guess so.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's probably the point. I didn't think of it like. Gosh.
Could be anything. I don't know if you saw, I think we've probably already mentioned it, but in the similar vein, Canada also passed a bill that said that by law, you have to call someone who has decided that they have like a certain pronoun.
I think that was
Yeah.
was it not New York?
No, it's Canada. The entirety of Canada. Yeah.
What's wrong with Canada, man?
They're incredibly far left, aren't
yeah,
they?
they're just
Incredibly
liberal.
far left.
yeah,
I'm not going to
Mental.
call it. I'm not going to call a man a girl. I'm just not going to do it.
yeah.
I'm not going to affirm your. I'm just not going to affirm your mental illness just because the law says so. I'm sorry.
But how? But would you guys? So let's say there's a guy, and he thinks he's a girl, and he calls himself Deandra. Would you go as far as calling him Deandra? Would you call him by his original name?
Andrew. I don't know.
Andrew. Let's say it's Andrew.
Well, that's the thing. It depends on the person, and like depends how they asked us. Depends the words they used and whether they were, like House and Sierra were. You know what I mean? It's not like I wouldn't put a blanket term, or not a blanket term. Sorry, put a blanket statement that I'll never call someone by a preferred pronoun.
Hmm.
Because if my sister, for example, came up to us and was like, Jake, I want you to call us a Z from now on. Z and Z pronoun. I would be like, yeah,
No.
alright then.
Say
I disagree with it. I would tell her plainly, like, and I would discuss it with her, obviously, but if she insisted that I do it, I probably would.
Really?
Yeah. Like, purely just because I'm bothered about her as a person. And I don't think it's necessary to, like... No, yeah, I think it's...
Yeah, I guess once you've talked to them about it, they're sort of arguing the point over and over again. Each time you have to use the word he or her. It's sort of a bit futile. I know what you mean by that.
Yeah. Like, if she gets it, which she will, because I'll discuss it with her, then, whatever. It's just a word at the end of the day. If she knows my actual position on it, I don't mind just using a word that she would prefer I use. You know what I'm saying? And that can be the same for anybody else. Like, well, not anybody else. As I say, it depends who the person is and how they ask us. Like, if they go up and demand it, and someone that I like barely know, and they just totally kick off about it, I'm gonna be like, nah, I'm just not doing that for you. You know? Case by case basis is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about white people, right?
I've heard of them.
Welcome to Dirt with a Week. Can we get a
Yeah.
theme tune, please? Adam.
Coming up.
I literally only heard the last note there. Can you play that again?
So,
Oh, sorry.
What? Dude, it happened again. Turn your iPad up.
It is that's bizarre. Let me try again.
All right, we got two notes that time. I think that's where we'll leave it. I think.
That's enough.
Right. Welcome to Dirt of the Week.
we should just record a file, man. Just like that you can slap on the front.
Yeah, I'll just play it. Yeah, I'll do that. Anyway, I've only got 2 candidates this week, so I'm hoping you guys might have brought some extra.
Okay.
If not, it's going to be a coin flip. 10 requests for white people.
10 requests for white people. Oh my gosh.
This.
You saw this
I've
one.
heard of it.
You guys know this one. Right.
Ridiculous.
Let's just run through them and see how
I
hilarious
didn't actually
these are.
read the article, to be fair, so I've not heard all of these requests
You'll enjoy these.
that we knew for me.
Right. So it's from a Black Lives Matter leader.
Oh my god.
Number 1. White people.
That's it.
Yeah. White people. There you go. No. Number 1, white people. If you don't have any descendants, will your property, as in write it in your will, to a black or brown family, preferably one that lives in generational poverty. Number 2, white people. If you are an inheriting property you intend to sell upon acceptance, give it to a black or brown family. You're bound to make that money in some other white privileged way.
Bound to. Bound to.
Yeah, it's practically a given truth of the universe. Number 3.
I know.
If you're a developer or realty owner of multifamily housing, build a sustainable complex in a black or brown blighted neighborhood and let black and brown people live there for free. That's insane.
Why?
That's like £1 million investment.
More than that.
A few million. To then give it away for free.
I
That's
think they're all
insane.
insane, Jake.
Well, yes, but that one is particularly ridiculous. Number 4, white people. If you can afford to downsize, give up the home you own to a black or brown family. Preferably a family from generational poverty. Number 5, white people. If any of the people you intend to leave your property to are racist assholes, I probably shouldn't have said that, actually. Change the will. And will your property to a black or brown family. Preferably a family from generational poverty. Number 6, white people. Rebudget your monthly so you can donate to black funds or land purchasing. 7, white people, especially white women, because this is your speciality. Nosy Jenny and meddling Kathy. I guess that's got to be something personal, I don't know. Anyway. White people, especially white women, get a racist fired. You know what they're saying. You are complicit when you ignore them. Get your boss fired because they're racist too.
That's so stupid.
Was this serious?
This is serious. Yeah. Number 8. To back up number 7. This should be easy, but all those Klan, Nazis, and other little bleep white men will all be returning to work. Get them fired. Call the police even. They look suspicious. What? So this is just call the police on white people. Right. I didn't read that one the first time through. That's mental. Number 9. Okay, to back up number 8. If any white person at your work or as you enter in spaces and you overhear a white person praising the actions from yesterday, first get a picture, get their name and more info, find out where they work and get them fired. But certainly address them, and if you need to, you've got hands, use them.
Okay, punch him.
10. Commit to 2 things. Fighting white supremacy where and how you can. This doesn't mean taking up knitting unless you're making scarves for black and brown kids in need. And fund black and brown people and their work. And that's...
There's 2 things that are heavily assumed in this,
Mm.
I think. The first, it seems to be heavily assumed that black people in America have it the worst in the globe.
Mm. Yeah.
I like, as though it's like, I mean, obviously, I think there are inequalities, but not, there's bigger things to worry about. I think, and it seems to be assumed that there's not bigger things to worry about. And then the second thing that I think is heavily assumed in that is that there aren't rich black people in America that could be doing that themselves.
It seems to be assumed there aren't rich black people and there are no poor white people.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's another massive assumption in this, right, which I think is so self-destructive for, like, the black community. Like, in most of these, it's about white people giving things to black people, assuming that black people are incapable of getting those things themselves. It's this whole thing is like
it's charity, but
yeah,
it doesn't need to be.
It's as if black people require charity to survive, like they're just incapable of anything, which I think is horrendously offensive.
Yeah,
actually, like surely this is the last thing you would want to write if you want to empower black people to do better.
Well, it's the bigotry of low expectations, isn't it?
Right.
But like, gosh, that's insane. That's so stupid. Like, and I think you're right, because hypothetically, if it was a problem, then this would just make it worse, wouldn't it? I mean, think about that. A white family earning, I don't know, 400k for 401k a year, right? A white family earning 401k a year, then goes, you know what? We don't need this mansion. We'll just give it to a poor black family. Do you honestly think a poor black family, hypothetically, is going to be able to afford the keep up of that mansion in the first place? And then it would be, you know what I mean? It's just so stupid. That was the first one that made me go, well, that's just absolutely insane. Oh, it wasn't the first one, sorry. That was one of the ones that made me go, well, this is just insane. And the other one was get racists fired at your work. I can tell you for sure, absolutely for sure, if somebody was openly racist at my work, they would get fired. No matter who they were, they would get fired. And like, and what if you don't have any racists? Like, if they're saying that a prerequisite of this is that you get a racist fired. If you don't have any racists, what do you do? Desperately
because
just try
they're
and invent
everywhere,
one.
isn't it?
I know, it's so stupid. Oh man, that is a derp.
It's a big old derp. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go ahead and put the podcast on hold for a minute, because the second derp, I've linked a video.
It's such a derp.
Yeah, such a derp. I'm going to need a nap before I even talk about it. No, the second derp was a video, and all I've done is put the link to the video, and I can't remember what the derp is.
Oh my gosh. It's such a derp, it's instantly forgettable.
Yeah. I mean, that's a derp on my part, so perhaps I'll be up for derp of the week as well. But, yeah. We'll be right back. And we're back. Right, here we are. I've got the derp, fellas.
Okay.
Here it is. Dan Harmon. Are you familiar with Dan Harmon?
Oh, yeah.
Well-known comedy writer.
Oh, yeah.
Co-creator of Rick and Morty. Exactly.
Yeah.
He made a claim.
Hey, Rick.
I think I heard about this, yeah.
You just did a Rick impression while you were talking to Rick.
Oh, yeah.
While he was on stage, he made the incredible claim that 29% of the population of the US are Nazis.
Oh, it's true, isn't it?
It's true, yeah. So 63... a little bit of research shows that 63% of Americans are white. Now, you'd imagine that Nazis would only be white people. Right. So, 63% of the population of America is... Let me just check here. Is 146,223,000. Okay?
Yeah.
This is how many people that Dan Harmon thinks are Nazis. Let me just... One sec. I'll get it. Dan Harmon thinks... I think I've done it wrong. Oh, crap. Hang on. 1 second. I got this.
Hours later.
Yeah, here it is.
Alright.
Dan Harmon thinks there are 67,309,000 Nazis in the US. And
So stupid.
that is mental. And now, considering that only 0.003% of the population of the US is a member of the KKK.
Well,
This is what happens when famous people think that because they're famous, they've got a worthwhile opinion.
gosh, can you believe that?
So there's like 5,000 to 8,000 members in the KKK. But Dan Harmon thinks there's like 60 odd million racists.
I mean,
That's-
if that is true, we're in a bigger trouble than we thought, aren't we? Let's face it, lads.
Yeah. Maybe he's onto something, you know?
No, I feel like we would know if that was true.
I mean,
It's if you believed everything the media said, I think you could believe that was true.
what? The 29% of people
Yeah.
were Nazis.
I mean, and actually, if that's true, how did Obama get elected?
Yeah.
I mean, we're saying this like Nazis have a problem with black people. I don't remember any Nazi thing to do with black people, but gosh, that's just insane, isn't it? I don't think Ben Shapiro would be nearly as popular with right-wing people if that was true.
No, yeah, that's true. I didn't think of that actually.
Was it 67 million? You said.
67 million.
I just
My
don't think
God.
that's an accurate statistic, to be honest.
Almost like he pulled it out of his bum.
Yeah.
67 million. Like, so basically, there are more Nazis now than have ever existed.
Yeah.
Even during
Yeah.
Hitler's rise to Germany, that was nothing.
Sounds
This
about
is
right.
this is the 1,000-year Reich he was waiting for.
Just to take some estimations. I mean, 67 million.
About the average population of the UK, innit? Around that.
Is it? Oh yeah. It'll probably be around there. The there's about 8,000 members in the KKK. That's at the most. And there's 67 million racists. I can't help but think that like
Doesn't correlate.
they're slacking a little bit, aren't they? If they can't even be bothered to sign themselves up as members.
That just
I think
doesn't-
the issue is probably with how you define yourself as a Nazi. I mean, it's probably just because that many people voted Trump or something like that you said that.
it was more than that, wasn't it?
More than 29%, wasn't it? Must
But
have
he's
been.
like, but there must be at least 1% of Trump supporters aren't Nazis. I mean, Nazis aren't a casual thing. They're a pretty dedicated set of ideologies and beliefs.
Mm.
To have 67 people,
Pretty strong-willed bunch.
I don't know. I mean, wouldn't you have to? I mean, Christianity and Islam. Islam. Oh my gosh, Christianity and Nazi doesn't overlap, right?
You just interchanged Nazism with Islam.
I
That's
mean,
fantastic.
I see the similarities in some ways. I'm being.
What the technological advancements?
Well, maybe the Nazis were better at making weapons. I'll tell you that.
They managed to get past the pike.
Their
Yeah.
their aeronautical technology was pretty sick as well.
Let's not start appreciating the Nazis, gang. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you can really attribute that to Nazis and Nazis alone. I think that's just Germans.
Yeah, the Nazi ideology. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much
As
comes
much
down
as
to the
James
Nazis.
would probably argue against that. Anyway, so before we delve off into another bloody discussion, as we always do in the middle of Derp of the Week, does anybody else have any other derps they would like to throw in to the ring?
I'm cool as a cucumber, me.
Potential derps. No, we have to here. I can't think of anybody who really stood out. You know what I mean? This week that made me go, "What a sausage!" There was one quote by Hillary Clinton, but it's not really derp worthy. But she said she's trying to do promotion for a new book, and she said
Right.
that debating Donald Trump made her skin crawl. and I was like, "Oh, you're so edgy. Oh, he made your skin crawl. Wow, aren't you cool?"
was
What
trying,
was that?
I was trying hard to think of a good little quip about crawling there, but I couldn't think of anything.
I mean,
Pathetic.
yeah.
All right.
I mean, yeah.
So here are your options.
I'm
leave it
ready to vote.
Is it 10 requests for white people, or I think I know what the answer's going to be, or Dan Harmon claiming that 67 million people in the US are Nazis?
I think the Nazi thing is more of a derp, to be honest, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we always have this. This is how it always goes with Derp of the Week. We have one that is just a stupid thing that somebody did, and then we have one that is like a sinister thing that somebody did. Do you know what I mean?
Well, there
With
was always
elements
the
of stupid-
Archbishop thing, wasn't there?
Oh yeah. Oh man,
Oh, I didn't think of that actually. That's a bit of a derp.
I'm gonna vote for him.
Yeah, I'm
I'll
That guy's
guess
just
so.
a sausage.
All right. Well, he's the
Bit of a
preordained
pedo
winner.
derp.
A
Yeah.
P-derp.
Predestined winner, did you say?
Predetermined victor for the derp. But I think we should do a little overview of what he was.
What a dark horse.
So, Australia's most powerful clergy Archbishop of Melbourne, Dennis Hart, said that he is prepared to be jailed for failing to report child sex abuse by paedophile priests. Hart insisted that sexual abuse was a spiritual encounter with God through the priest and was of a higher order than criminal law. As the law currently stands, clergy are not legally obliged to report crimes to the police, and disciplinary proceedings for criminal activity by members of the Catholic Church are handled internally by canon law, which operates independently of the regular legal procedure. So congratulations, Dennis Hart. You are the sickest derp of the week.
You know what though? I've got a conspiracy theory, gang, about him. Right.
Okay.
Bear with me. So, is his name Dennis Hart?
Dennis Hart, yes.
Okay, I don't know why I asked that because it's not relevant. But whenever you think about Catholic Church, right, and whenever you hear about these rape cases and stuff, you know what's bizarre? The person will always say something like, he said it would bring me closer to God. And they always do stuff like they always do like the Hail Mary cross and stuff while they're raping these kids. And don't you think maybe there is some kind of a belief, like sub-belief in the church, where they seriously believe that this is in some way bringing them closer to God? Thoughts?
I mean, it's possible, I suppose.
It's possible.
This guy said, he put a genuine claim forward that that sexual abuse was a spiritual encounter with God through the priest.
But he said it in a public thing. That's what makes me go, what?
Yeah. It is mental, like it. He needs to just go straight to jail.
Yeah, for sure.
Do not pass go.
Twice.
Dicko.
Okay. Well, I think he needs to be in a mental institution, to be honest.
Alright. Adam, do you want to give him the official congratulations? Because you're normally the one to do it, like.
Congratulations. Is it Dennis Hart?
That's yes.
Okay. Congratulations, Dennis Hart. You've won Derp of the Week. And I want you to know, personally, you have every congratulations we could possibly give you. You truly have derped. Truly have... Well, found him. You truly have derped. And we'll be sending you a tweet.
Yeah.
And I just want to know that you can gather your thoughts, gather your things, because you'll have lost everything in the morning.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. Get him
Sicko,
sent
man.
away, man.
Would you guys like to play a game?
I would love to play a game.
Oh.
Although I did
That
2 last
time
time, so I'm
again.
not doing 2 this time. Screw that, I got slaughtered in the last 2.
Well, you gave up.
Yeah.
I won by capitulation.
It was impossible, man.
Do you want to guys know? Do you want to guys? Do you guys want to know something funny? You just said the word capitulation, and it reminded me of it, even though it's a different word.
Go on.
You know how I'm dealing with like KitchenAid stuff?
Yeah.
Right.
Did it remind you of KitchenAid?
No. So we get these reports that customers have written about like the fault on their small appliances, like their blenders and toasters and stuff. This guy clearly, like, I guess English wasn't his first language, but I had to read a message, right, literally telling me that he had consummated his blender. Yeah, just made me laugh a lot. Just so you,
What does
just
that?
so you know.
What does that mean? Is that a real thing? To consummate your blender?
Well, have you never heard of someone consummating their marriage?
Yeah, I know that, but like,
Yeah, so he had sex with his blender, I guess.
oh no!
Yeah, I guess. So I don't know. It just made me laugh.
1 second, guys. Let me just gather my
man.
things.
With a blender.
I never even thought about that.
Why you think that's not the first thing that crossed your mind? That he... That's awful, lad.
Pretty rad. No wonder it don't work. I bet it works better than he does.
So, who would like to go first?
I don't mind. Depends what the thing is, I think.
Yeah.
You want me to? I've got 3 ready. Are you ready?
Go on.
Number 1. Socialism is more of a threat to civilization than Islam.
Oh.
First one. Second one. We need a volcano every country. Third one. There should be a universal living wage.
Oh my goodness.
I like the third one.
There should be a universal living wage.
That's fine by me. I'm not debating this one though.
That's
That's between you two.
Oh, do you want to take? Shall we flip?
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have a coin nearby?
Yeah, I'll do. All right.
I'll be tails.
All right. It's heads. So
Ollie is arguing in favour.
Ollie's
Okay.
arguing in favour for socialism. What was it?
Yeah.
It was a socialistic thing. I can't remember what it actually was.
Everyone should have a living wage.
Ah, yes. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All
Is
right.
this everyone on the planet?
Yep.
Okay.
Everyone.
Right. How much? What is it? Is it 2 minutes opening? Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right. Your 2-minute opening statement begins now.
Okay, so I think everyone should have a living wage. I don't think everyone should necessarily have the equal living wage. I think richer people should have, it should be based on your income already, like your extra income, but you should have a living wage. So really rich people, it'd go down to next to nothing. Not so rich people, it'd be like, something where it's fairly sustainable. Not maybe so good as like a full-time job that's like, minimum wage, maybe a little bit lower than minimum wage, type of thing. But something that's, just gives them something to get by. Now it would cost a lot of money, but I think it would encourage a redistribution of wealth, a slight sort of adjustment quite a big adjustment to the economy to make something like that sustainable. And I think in the long run, it would be good for everyone. I think human beings just we need to look after each other, and I think it would be a good way of doing that. And then we wouldn't have to worry so much about looking after homeless people because there wouldn't be as many of them. Everyone's health would just get better in general. Everyone's education would probably get better as a result. There would be a big knock-on effect in society if everyone had a living wage. That's all I've got to say.
All right. You had 27 seconds remaining. Adam,
Hello.
are you ready for your 2-minute opening statement?
I think I am ready, yes.
All right. Begin.
Okay, 2 questions are gonna be in my opening statement. So, first one, who exactly is supposed to pay for this? Even if you taxed everybody at 100%, is that really going to be enough to give 7 billion people a universal living wage? I'm going to guess no, absolutely not. It's not going to be enough. And I mean, a varied living wage is a pretty good idea because you could argue that living wage for somebody who lived in a very poor country like Africa wouldn't need wouldn't need as much as somebody living in a rich country. But I've got to bring us on to this, which is the universal living wages. From example, don't work. Look at communism, for example, and the problem is always the same problem. Nobody can pay for it. There just isn't enough money in circulation to pay for these sorts of huge things. And you can't think of a single example of a universal living wage where it's actually worked. But I can name plenty of examples where it's absolutely been a total disaster. I mean, take every single country that was under the USSR, total disaster, universal living wage. Look at Venezuela. Venezuela is supposed to have a universal living wage, but people are starving in the streets. And that's purely for one reason, and that's that it doesn't work. The market itself can't stabilize to universal living wage. If everybody gets paid the same thing, then bread in the same way becomes worthless. It has to go up more money. It has to be worth more. And yeah, dang it. Oh yeah, and in a universal living wage, people don't have enough money. I mean, because if rich people clearly aren't going to get their income that they usually get, and yet if they don't get their income that they usually get, then they can't do what rich people usually do, and that's be philanthropists. So there'll be no rich people paying into huge charities that are doing a lot of difference. And yeah, that's what I've got so far for my statement. I end it now.
Fantastic. Is it 4-minute rebuttal or 2-minute rebuttal?
2 minutes.
All right. Ollie, are you ready for your 2-minute rebuttal?
Yeah.
Begin.
Okay, so you tax richer people quite heavily. I think it would be one of the things as well. And money's not just being created out of thin air. Value isn't just being created out of thin air. It exists. So surely there must be a way to just redistribute it and redistribute its flow. In terms of like charities, you don't need people paying into big charities as much if people are getting a universal living wage. Not so required. Yeah, I think they were some of your main questions. Was there another question that you asked?
Just who's going to pay for it?
Yeah. So in terms of where it's going to come from, it's just being redistributed. It's not like it's not like you're making money, like literally synthesizing new money. Obviously, if everyone's got more money, that it's all going into the economy. It's all being fed around. I don't know. I'm not an economist, but it's not like it's not like it's coming out of thin air. Maybe raise the taxes. Just I guess if it's all proportional taxes, proportional wage, you just adjust it until you find something that works, that's a bit sustainable. I guess that's the end of my statement. My rebuttal.
You had 22 seconds remaining. Adam.
Ooh. Hello.
Are you ready?
Oh, I forgot I had to rebut. Right, let's do this.
Right, begin.
So, your main point was that a varied universal wage would be a good thing, and I do see the benefits of that. I do understand where you're coming from. I still don't feel like I said, if you taxed, they know for a fact that if they taxed everybody in America 100% of their income, they'd only be able to afford universal basic health care for 5 years. And that's everybody in America. America is the richest country on earth. And if they tax everybody, they couldn't even support the healthcare system for 5 years. So I just don't think it's sustainable. I just don't think that is sustainable. Another point would be, you said about how it goes into circulation. It is true that obviously if poor people have more money, the economy is better. And also you talked about how we've got to look after each other, but we were forgetting that poor people, one reason, and it's quite controversial, and this is not the only reason, it's absolutely not, but one reason why some poor people aren't very good with money is because, don't have a lot of money, is because they're not very good with money. And he said about how it'll be good to help the homeless. Well, one objection I would have to that would be, there are some people in this world, sadly, homeless people, that choose to be homeless. Katia talks to, that's anecdotal, I'll drop that. But basically, there have been studies and there have been documentaries that have studied the lives of people who do choose to be homeless. And you need to remember that a lot of homeless people are veterans, and yet veterans are given in America. Veterans are given a what's it called? They're given a pension, a veteran's pension, and especially if they're injured, and that covers the cost of living. So these people are choosing to be homeless for some sort of reason, for some crazy reason. So even with a universal basic income, people would choose to be homeless still. The only problem is there'd be no money to give to those homeless people now. I am my statement.
All right. We'll go into the question and answer section. Right.
Let's do it.
How long do I have for that again? Is it 4 minutes?
Yeah.
All right. My first question's for you, Ollie.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned like richer people having a lower state-appointed wage, and poorer people having a higher one.
Mm-hmm.
How does that relate to like homeless people, and does it get to a point where people just stop getting a state-appointed wage?
Well, I couldn't suggest that in my argument because there then wouldn't be a universal living wage with the argument I've been given. So I'd have to say it would be small. It would just become very small.
Hi, sorry about that. My dad just walked in.
You know, yeah, no, it would just end up being just like, you know, pocket change really for the richer people.
Right.
Okay.
So, Adam.
Yo.
Given that this is a global program, do you not think that we have a responsibility to implement something like this for the sake of those who are impoverished in places like Africa, for example?
Yeah, that is absolutely 100% correct. We do have a responsibility to help people in need in impoverished places, but the problem is who is going to pay for it? Because at the end of the day, in theory, we can help them, but in practicality, we can't. Like, I can't give more than I have to give, and in theory, it would be great to give them enough money that they could have a universal living wage, but in practicality, the money's got to come from somewhere.
And
that makes sense.
It would be impossible to fund something like this, even with all of the money that everyone gets.
Yeah,
even at 100% tax rate, you said.
Even if they taxed everybody, even if you taxed just the 1%, oh no, sorry, even if you taxed everybody, it wouldn't be enough.
Right. I'll open it up for you guys to ask each other questions.
Got a question for me, Ollie, before I thoroughly wreck you?
No, I'm good.
I've got a question for you. How does it feel to know I'm going to wreck now? I was going to ask, how would you respond to what I said about how sometimes it's not good to give universal living wage because some people would use theirs less wisely than other people, and then it would essentially be wasted?
What do you mean?
Well, let's say there's somebody
use it less wisely in what way?
Let's say they spend it on drugs. 100% of their universal living wage on drugs all the time. Wouldn't that be unfair to the person who's using theirs to support their family?
Right. I mean, if someone, if I was in charge of a program like this, what I would do is I would put a clause in place where if someone's found out as being on drugs, until they're off of drugs, I'd put their living wage to pay for them going to rehab, for example. They get a living wage, they don't necessarily, like in a situation like that, you know, you could revoke control over how it's spent, and, you know, they have to go to rehab, and that's how it's spent.
I've got a last question for you, so answer it as quickly as you possibly can. So, the universal living wages in history have never worked. What makes you think it would work this time?
Because it'd be different. They've never been done right.
Isn't that an old Scotsman no true Scotsman fallacy?
Well, the no true Scotsman fallacy can, you know, it's not always fallacious.
Time. I'll let you finish your sentence if you want to continue.
Yeah, just to explain, like, so just because something fits in the category of no true Scotsman, it doesn't mean it's fallacious. Because if you've got evidence to back it up, I mean, for example, for me to say that the IRA aren't true Christians, it's not a no true Scotsman fallacy because I've got the evidence of the scripture to back it up. Whereas obviously someone saying that ISIS aren't true Muslims, that's a no true Scotsman because even their scripture backs up what ISIS do. So,
All right.
Okay. Well, it was a good one. It was a good one.
Have our closing statements.
Oh, is there closing statements? Oh yeah, I forgot there's 20 seconds.
closing
Isn't there?
stati montes, yeah.
No, he goes first.
Good thing I didn't give me verdict there.
Okay.
All right.
We're human beings. We need to stick together. Again, we're not synthesizing money here. It exists. It's just in the hands of the greedy. And I think we need to liberate it from these people's cold hands and get it where it's going to be used, where there's going to be a free flow of money. It's going to be conducive. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, Adam, go.
What my opponent has failed to realize is that he hasn't provided a way that this would be paid for, and that's what we need to think about here. Because we can say nice idea all we want, and it is a nice idea, and everything. I agree with everything Ollie said. It would be great to have all of these things, but
Well,
who's going
rest
to
my
pay
case.
for it? Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for it?
All right.
Just a tip, Adam, for debating. It's never good debating to say I agree with everything that guy just said.
No, I'm saying, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I'm
I know what you mean.
Yeah, right. That's a minus point for Adam. I believe that my opponent in this debate is 100% correct.
I am going to live under a bridge now.
No, despite that, I think I am going to have to give it to Adam.
Fair one, mate.
I am a superior human being.
He did. Yeah, the examples. He even busted out the fallacy at one point, despite a rebuttal towards it. Well done,
I've
Adam.
got no problem. Would you guys like to have a debate? One last one?
Sure,
I'm debated out.
that's fair enough. I'm happy to not have one.
I don't mind.
Thank
I'll
you.
debate you, Jake. Oh, okay.
I was just God. I was gonna be so smooth.
I know, sorry.
All right. Thank you for listening to the alternative review. We'll be back same time next week. Probably not
No
actually.
problem, Jake.
Maybe not.
Sick. It's most likely going to be Sunday next week. Possibly not. We don't really.
Like it should be.
Yeah, it should be. My fault this week. No,
It
this
is.
Had
week.
last week.
This is the smoothest outro I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, right. Thanks for watching. Catch us in a bit.
Later.
Catch you later, friends.